Hi friends, my name is Kyle. If you haven't previously seen me on this YouTube channel, I've done a lot of fun things like duets with Muppets. I've been carried across vast landscapes by female bodybuilders. I've had gentle pillow fights on the beach with my bandmates, and now I'm here to teach you the new Beware Darkness song, Bloodlines. I figured if you're gonna learn it wrong from someone, you might as well learn it wrong from me, the guy that wrote it. Shall we start? So the most important thing that I want to stress on before we even start is tune your guitar, okay? You could give an out-of-tune guitar to the best guitar player in the world and he's going to sound like a trash can rolling down the Matterhorn. You could give a perfectly in-tune guitar to a mediocre guitar player and he has a chance of sounding like a champion, okay? I can't tell you how many open mics I've been to where I hear someone playing a beautiful song and their guitar's out of tune, and I think to myself, Jesus Christ, like if I wanted to be ear waterboarded, I just would have stayed home and listened to cats. Okay, so tuning, I know it's so simple, I know it's so basic, I know it's so just like, you don't even think about it, but it's so important. So it separates amateurs from pros, so tune it. The second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna drop our Ds, which I do like this. I usually make a face, it helps with intonation. The second thing I do when I drop my Ds is I play a little diddle. So there's two reasons I do that. The first reason is to make sure nothing dramatic happened between dropping my E string to a D string. All my fingers still work. I still got the magic touch. I still got these lady fingers. The second reason I do it is because as a guitar player, if we're not making noise all the time, what the f are we even doing? So here's the main riff. The goal of this video is I wanted to teach you not only how to play Bloodlines, but also have you walk away with some really cool guitar techniques that a lot of people don't talk about. So the first one is sliding. And I don't know if you heard on that riff, but sliding is so important to that riff that I'm going to play it without sliding so you can hear how drastic and dramatic it sounds without it, okay? So here's the riff without sliding. So you can hear it, that sounds so unsexy to me, there's no swagger to it. To me that sounds like if Usain Bolt was sprinting full speed as fast as he can and he jumps on a slip and slide and there's no water on the slip and slide. It's just rocks, nails, knives, needles. That's what it sounds like. It's so stale and crusty, it sounds like 3,000-year-old sex with a mummy. It's just gross, okay? So how to implement sliding. What is sliding? Basically you just start on a fret, and you don't pick, you just go up to it. Okay, so the next question, how do you implement it? If I want to learn something on guitar, I know this sounds so amateur hour, but I just make up my own scales, I make up my own practice parts, okay? So if I say, okay, I want to get better at sliding, I will literally just make up exercises. And you can start slow, start with sliding from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, okay? And do it on every string. You can go backwards. And here's the thing about learning something new is you want to slow it down first, okay? You don't want to start. You want to go slow. You want to go so slow, like imagine like you're a bill that Trump is trying to get passed through the House and you're Nancy Pelosi and she's saying, get the fuck out of here, no way. That's how slow you want to go, okay? So, you know, don't be afraid to suck, don't be afraid to make errors because what's going to happen is you're going to first start sliding and you're going to try to go from the 3rd to the 7th fret. But you're going to wind up 3 blocks down the street at the Dairy Queen somehow, okay? So just take your time, be gentle with yourself. The Bloodlines riff, it has a 12th fret slide, okay? That's how big it is. You slide down, slide back. So it's like all these subtle things that like make the riff whole, okay? So the next thing we're going to go to is the verse. And I'll play the verse for you here. Also, the good news about the song is we only need one string for this, okay? You can tell all the 5 other strings, go get some manis, petties, beer, and tater tots. You got the day off, okay? We'll call you when we need you. So we're just going to hang out with this E string. Work the f*** out of this E string, okay? So here's the verse. I'll slow it down for you. So the second technique that I wanted to teach you guys today is vibrato. You ask, what is vibrato? It's just wiggling the fuck out of the string. So you can wiggle a single note. You can do a vibrato on bends. You can do fast vibrato. You can do slow vibrato. You can do vibrato on 2 strings at a time. I love vibrato. It's something that I honestly haven't been working on until this year because I fell in love with it so much. So how do you get better at vibrato? How do you see vibrato? I like to imagine it as a Teletubby bouncing down a hill. So happy, so jubilant, filled with glee, filled with so much joy. And you got the baby sun giving so much light to your back. So that's how I like to think it. And, you know, you're going to start and it's probably going to sound like you're choking a Teletubby. You know, you're going to go, or you might do one vibrato. But that's fine. Like, you learn things by breaking them down into very, very small pieces. Like, when I was learning vibrato, it tore my hand up because I had to build so much muscle in my forearm, in my hands. I had to really, like, relearn how to use that hand again. So just be gentle with yourself. If this is all you can do at first, that's fine. It's a start, okay? You'll get to this. Okay? You'll be fine. So there's one pitfall with vibrato that I want to talk about. Very important, is I've seen it in so many guitar players. I go to their live show, they're in the ecstasy of playing a solo or a song, and they go to do vibrato, and I see them do this. And I think, what the hell are these guys doing? They're just wiggling their hands. They're not doing vibrato. They're literally just wiggling their hands, and sometimes they wiggle the fretboard. So I think to myself, there's people in the world who wiggle their hand and they just think they're doing vibrato. What do these people do when they're in bed with someone else? Who the hell knows? So if you take one thing away from this video, if you go see a live band and the guitar player is playing the solo and he's shredding and then he hits a high note and then he's just wiggling his hand, I would say don't sleep with him, get the f*** out of the venue, take your friends and leave because you don't want to talk to those people, okay? Who knows what the hell they're going to do. So the last thing we're going to talk about is, not the last thing we're going to talk about, we're just moving on. We're moving right along like the Muppets. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the pre-chorus, which I think is a perfect segue into how to combine vibrato and sliding. And before we talk about that though, I want to talk about meat because for me, all these guitar techniques that we're learning, vibrato, sliding, hammer-ons, hammer-offs, hammer-arounds, ziggly-doos, all these things are, to me, they're the meats and the spices of guitar playing, okay? So guitar playing without them, it's just like serving someone a steak with no seasoning on it, which it'll get the job done, but it's not going to be exceptional, okay? So for me, what really separates good guitar players from great guitar players is how they bring in these subtle techniques that are so good you don't even know it's there, okay? So you don't want to pour the entire salt container on the steak and serve it to someone. You know, you can go too far, but you also just want to like bring them in slowly. So that's that. All right, the last thing I wanted to teach you guys is my favorite chord of all time, and it's used in the song. I admittedly have no idea what the hell this chord is called, but I'm sure if you scroll down, someone in the comments who is a guitar player will say something like, it's a D minor 18th diminished chicken stock 49th chord. How the hell does this guy not know it? I thought he was a guitar player. And I'll just say, I don't play guitar. You're right. So here's the chord. You're going to take your entire index finger, you're going to bar the 10th fret. You're going to take your ring finger and your pinky finger and bar the 12th and the G string. Nope, the 12th and the G string. You're gonna bar. This is how I am when I watch these videos. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? He isn't even making sense. You're gonna take your ring finger and your pinky finger, and you're gonna bar the 12th frets of the D and the G string. Okay? So it's gonna look like this, and it's gonna sound like this. Beautiful. It's like a sunrise. You can take it anywhere. It goes well with red wine, appetizers, and vibrato. It's beautiful. So the last thing I want to talk about in closing on a serious note is if you want to get better at anything, you have to be willing to suck at it first. Okay? And I'll explain that because change, growth, progress, they all happen when you're uncomfortable. Nothing good and worthwhile happens in your comfort zone. So the only reason I'm halfway decent at showing you these things is because I've spent so many hours alone in a dark room, in a cabin, in the woods in North Idaho, is because I just practice so long, okay? So again, don't be afraid to suck, push yourself, be uncomfortable, you know, like, just do it. And just fucking do it. The thing about guitar playing is like, it's like anything. It's muscle memory. It's teaching your fingers how to do things. You know, it's like, I like to tell people this analogy of like, they're like, oh my God, I could never play guitar. How can you play like that? And I tell them like, yo, I could never run a marathon. If you told me tomorrow, yo, you got to wake up and run a marathon, I'd say there's no fucking way I can do that. But if you told me a marathon is in 4 months and I woke up every day and I ran a little bit, sure enough, I could run a marathon. I could do anything. So just have that mentality, break it down little by little. You know, and I know we're talking about guitar playing, but that's a life lesson, okay? So be uncomfortable, be weird, get out there and thrive, sweetheart. You can do this. This has been Tony Robbins, teaching you how to play the Imagine Dragons song, Imagine. Thank you. I'll see you soon.